Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is going to be a roundup of my April favorites, so we're going to be discussing all of the things that brought me joy in the month of April. Of course we're going to be talking about tarot and oracle decks because this is what I love talking about on my channel. I'll also be talking about books, lifestyle bits, memories, video games, all the things that brought me joy in the month of April. I love watching those kind of videos from fellow content creators, tarot tubers, and it's a nice way for me to kind of round up every month and share all the things that have put a smile on my face. So as per usual, you're gonna find in the description box timestamps for each of the categories, so all of the information of what I talk about in the description box, if I mention any decks, all the names, the book names, etc. It's all gonna be down there. I try and fill my description box to the brim to give you as much information as I can in every single one of my videos. So if it is your first time here, I want to say a huge welcome. My name is Reid. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle and self-empowerment related. I love talking about tarot and oracle decks on my channel because they are tools that really help me on my spiritual journey, on my life journey, and just they are like giving me the life juice that I need to keep going. I also love to be able to post empowering tarot readings on my channel, so pick a card readings, collective readings, things like that. So if you'd like to see any of that on your timeline, make sure to hit the subscribe button, join the tide, no pressure, but I would love to have you. And you can also find all my social down below. I'm my Instagram, my TikTok, etc. It's all gonna be down there. So without further ado, let's get into my April 2022 favorites. Do you enjoy spending time in nature? And do you feel more restored, more nourished when you spend time by the river or in the forest? When you find yourself surrounded by trees or hearing the sound of the waves? Do you feel that connection to the earth? Do you feel this call of spending time by nature to restore your soul, restore yourself, ground yourself, reconnect? April for me was very much a month where that was a huge part of it. One of my really close friends in April decided to come visit Reid Island for the first time. She had never been. We've been friends for over a decade. We actually met in America, but she's also French, and she decided to come and visit me, and it was such a blessing. It was such a joy to see someone that I really love, and to spend time with her, and to also make her discover places that are so dear to my heart, that have been so key in helping me heal, helping me get stronger, that are also part of my childhood memories, but also have very strong significance for my adult self as well. And so of course this is my biggest life joy of the month, because as you can see from the images I am hopefully sharing with you right now, all the places we went to were very beautiful. I'm so grateful that this is where I currently live, in Reunion, and it was very important for me to be able to take her to all those places, and even to be able to go to all those places, because it wasn't that long ago that I wasn't able to do that because of my health journey, because of my body not being strong enough to walk that long or to carry myself, etc. And even though it was still difficult in some moments to be able to keep up the pace, because I wanted to show her as much as possible, and maybe my body wasn't totally able to follow, we still managed to do a lot more than I thought I would, and we still managed to enjoy wonderful times together, just talking about life, being in nature, being surrounded by beautiful scenery, waterfalls, volcanoes, forests, and just sharing that really soulful connection you can have with friends. So this was absolutely the highlight for me for the month. I really love being able to see my environment through the eyes of someone that had never been here, and it also was the perfect kind of breath of fresh air for me, because as you know, my health journey has been long, it's been ongoing. I'm still, it's still very much at the center point of my life. I spent so much time going to the physio, trying to get stronger, going to the doctors, going to fascia therapy, doing all the things that are allowing my body to regain mobility, to regain independence, etc. Having that bubble of like being with my friend for 3 weeks, not really having to worry about my next physio appointment, and just having a glimpse at what normal life could feel like again. It was really magical, and I'm gonna hold on to that a lot because I feel like it's given me the life juice I needed to keep going on my health journey, to keep getting stronger, to more mobile, to keep regaining mobility, etc. So it was a boost I needed to now go back to all of my doctor's appointment and physio, etc., and kind of like have the drive to keep going, because it was the really a lovely breath of fresh air and just the motivation I needed at the moment I needed it, to give me that kind of vision of what it would be like to be back in a body where you feel well. Because when we were together, there was moments where I felt well, which hasn't happened in years, and it's showing me all the progress I've made, because I maybe wasn't really aware until she came of how much progress I made physically, and from like not being able to walk at all to now being able to walk again, and reusing my arms, etc., and being maybe sitting for longer, and being able to swim a little bit and things like that. Those are all things that I'm regaining slowly, and that being able to do those things with her that I hadn't seen since before I got ill, it was really a perfect way for me to kind of see how far I'd come. So I'm really grateful and blessed that this happened in the month of April, and it was absolutely the highlight of my month. So of course I made the most of my friend coming, and she kindly became my deck mule while she decided to come visit. Postage to come to Reunion Island, where I live, is very, 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 very slow. Like, slow doesn't even cut it, especially since COVID, and now with the war in Ukraine. The transport for like maritime transport, so ship transport, etc., is like pretty much non-existent. And so it's really difficult to get decks to come, and there has been many decks that I've ordered in the last 3 years that are still floating around in the universe. They're gonna come and make their way to me, I'm sure, at one point. So I did make the most of her coming and put some orders in so that she could bring me back some decks I wanted that I wasn't able to get delivered here. So I actually have done a deck haul, or a Tarot and Oracle deck haul. I'm gonna put the card somewhere, wherever it is, so you can check that out if you haven't seen. I'm showing you all the new decks that have come into my collection that my friend kindly brought back for me, and so I have got a lot of new decks to play with for the next few months, and I'm super excited. But first, let's talk about books. Obviously my friend was here for like the majority of the month of April, so my priority was spending time with her, so I didn't get to read as much as I normally would, or play with, learn new decks as much as I normally would, or even use as many decks as I normally would. You're gonna see that. But one book that I really enjoyed that I read in the month of April that I wanted to share, it is called The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. I think that's how you say his name. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. So The Comfort Book is non-fiction, but you might know his books that are called The Midnight Library and How to Stop Time and The Humans. They're very well known, especially in the UK. He's a very well known, popular writer for good reason. His books are fantastic. I've read The Humans and I've read How to Stop Time, and now because I've enjoyed the one I'm going to talk about to you so much, I've actually ordered on my Kindle The Midnight Library, and I'm going to read that next, and I'm really, really excited. So Matt Haig is a writer, like novelist, etc., but he has a background of having gone through severe depression, and that makes him a really powerful advocate for mental health awareness. And so if you follow him on Instagram, he shares really empowering text about his journey, about hope, and about like the mental health journey, etc. And that's kind of where The Comfort Book that I'm going to talk to you about came from. This is like excerpts that he wrote when he was at his lowest, and also then picked up again during the pandemic. Excerpts of text that he wrote to give him hope, to give him comfort, and then to share with the world, of course, in times of troubles. Kind of like insights that you get when you feel like you're at your lowest. What would you like to read when you feel like you're at your lowest? This is a comfort book. So The Comfort Book is the kind of book, I got my version on Kindle, but I'll put a picture somewhere. It's the kind of book you just flick through and you can read a page. It's not like a story that follows, right? It's just little excerpts, little essays little sometimes quotes or poems that are all throughout the book. So it's kind of one of those, you can read it all in one go, or you can just open a page, get your message and move on. I actually read mine in one go. Like it took me like, I don't know, one afternoon before my friend was arriving, and I read it all and I highlighted so much of it, and it was just beautiful, it was comforting, and it was exactly what I know I would like to read when I'm feeling really low, when I'm going through some difficult times, when I just need comfort. And so I'm gonna read to you a little excerpt. You're gonna know why I chose this particular poem that he wrote. It's because it's called How to Be an Ocean, and of course my name is Marine, the title of my channel is The Waves of Your Soul. You know, when I saw that particular poem I was like, this is my speak, right? You're speaking my speak. So this is called How to Be an Ocean. You haven't failed in a moment of sadness. You haven't lost in a moment of defeat. You are not a statue standing in eternal contrapposto. You are a thing in motion, a rising tide, a cresting wave. Your vast depths witness every marvel, every wonder. You are then marvelous and wonderful. So don't fight the moon, allow every tide, and give all your wrecked ships the space to hide. It's just a beautiful, comforting, empowering, just really healing book. I can't recommend it enough. It's, you know, some texts are longer, some texts are literally just one sentence. Like for example, this one is called Portal, and it says, each of us has the power to enter a new world. All we have to do is change our mind. I love that. I love those kind of like little sentences or little poems. They're not all poems, some of them are more like prose type text that spark something in me, and I've actually kind of used this book as a way to then guide my tarot readings in the next like months, and I think I'm going to continue to do that for the month of April. So for example, for this particular one I read to you, which is like, each of us has the power to enter a new world, all we have to do is change our mind, and the title of the poem is called Portal. Then I would shuffle my cards and think, okay, what card represents the portal that I need to step into right now? And then I would pull cards around what is the new mindset I need to adopt, and maybe an advice on how can I step through that portal, step through that new mindset, and what is, maybe another card around like what is the first step I need to take, for example. So as you can see, those kind of texts for me, in my spiritual practice, in my healing practice, those kind of books, they're not just books. They can be spells to help you like conjure some kind of ritual. They can be tarot spread ideas, like inspiration, and then you can pull your card. They can be journaling prompts, and you can spend some time with yourself kind of like journaling about that. They can be meditation prompts. There is so much you can do with those kind of books. If you have any recommendation around books in that similar vibe, leave them to me in the comments. I will be super curious. I love to exchange with you in the comments. And by the way, I do answer all of my comments because I really love being able to talk to you all in the comments. We exchange ideas, we share, and it's just wonderful. So I reply to all of my comments. If I haven't replied to your comment, it's because YouTube sometimes, for reasons that I don't understand, seems to randomly delete them. And so I'll get a notification, I will see your comment, I'll be able to read it, but when I try and click on it, it's gone. Like YouTube has deleted it and there's nothing I can do about that. But know that I read all of them and that I reply to all of the ones that I am able to, in the sense that all the ones that are not deleted, I reply. Because I'm really grateful for all of you who take the time to watch, comment, etc. It means a lot. Actually, very random favorite. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but my friend and I, when she came here, we went to the market in Reunion Island here, and I found those really gorgeous little earrings. And I had to share because I love them. They remind me of the forest and they make me super happy. Okay, let's move on to video games. I didn't get that much time to play video games because, like I said, my friend was here for most of the month. But actually the first week before she arrived, I had a lot of like heavy physio appointment, osteo appointments, kind of like preempting her visit so that I wouldn't need to go to the physio clinic as much as I normally would while she was here. So we kind of like tried to work on my body as much as possible so that I would be able to hold on and do as many things with her as possible without needing to be, without any kind of like accident or issues happening in my body while she was here, and then trying to hold on as long as possible. So that first week I was pretty much bedbound a lot because I was in a lot of pain, because I was like, there was a lot of work being done on my body. So I actually had some time to play video games that first week, and a game that I really enjoyed, really loved, I can't recommend enough, is called Elli. And so if you don't know, all of the video games I recommend, they're always on the Switch Lite because that's the only kind of video game platform I have. It's convenient for me. I can play lying down, I can play sitting up, I can play wherever. But Elli is an indie game. It's a platform game, and it is just very poetic and magical. I'm gonna show you images here, but embody the crystal keeper, like a crystal guardian. And at the beginning of the game, you're kind of like apprentice. So you being the crystal guardian, your crystal guardian apprentice decides to steal the crystals from you, thinking that she's ready to be the guardian. Like, she wants to take over, she's sick of being an apprentice, she decides to steal the crystals. And as soon as that happens, the world kind of goes under this kind of like disharmonious state, and you have to follow her and chase her to get the crystals back because she's not ready to be a guardian yet. You haven't finished her apprenticeship. And so you have to go through all these kind of like platforms in this really beautiful, serene, kind of very unique, aesthetically looking game. I haven't never played a game that looks like that, and it's all platforms and it's all kind of like puzzles and things like that. It's this fantastical looking world, and the music is very serene, and the actual like game of it is really engaging. There's not one level, or even though you don't have levels, the difficulty progresses as you continue on the story, and it's really keeping you engaging, and I couldn't put it down, and it really helped me that first week to get through, and it was a wonderful game. It's a short game, I think you can probably finish it in like a couple of days. It's not expensive, and it was beautiful. It was engaging, and it was that kind of like lovely magical world, and the story was really interesting as well. I really enjoyed that storyline, so I really recommend you to check out Elli on Switch. I loved it personally. Okay, let's move on to decks. We'll start with Oracle decks. A quick mention, I feel like this is pretty much to be shown in all of my monthly favorite, but I'm still really loving the Outgrow Yourself Oracle by Acta Spamman. This is an indie Oracle deck. It was featured in my favorite decks of 2021, and I've not put it down since. I use it every single month. It's never too far out from me. It's like an extended member at this point. It's like my third arm. I really love this deck so much. It's like a Thoth inspired deck, so it's built like a tarot deck in the sense that you have 21 major arcana and you have all of your 4 suits, etc., but you can also use it as an oracle because on every card you have a keyword or a sentence, etc. You decide whether you want to use it as a Thoth tarot deck or whether you want to use it as an oracle. Personally, I use it kind of like a mix of both, but more so as an oracle, and what really truly sings for me are those sentences on top. They always ring true, they always are spot on, they always hit something within me. That plus the imagery that I've said this before, but this is giving me very strong Persephone vibes. This being going through the underworld, but also, going through turmoils and difficulties, but they're also with all those beautiful flowers and botanical around this particular little being. It really is a very magical deck for me, and it always rings true whenever I have a question and I need an answer that is kind of clear. I'm confused, I'm in the fog, and I don't know kind of who to turn. This is like a best friend in a deck, honestly. It's that kind of vibe. It's the friend that you can go to that's going to tell you the truth, even the one you don't want to hear, but also the one that you need to hear. Despite it can be painful, but it's what you need to know, and always going to be honest and direct. So I love this one. Still obsessed. It's always either on my desk or on my bedside table. For Oracle decks, I also want to shout out this new kind of like addition to my collection. This is called the Connected and Free by Lorena Aleta, and this is the mass market French version of the Connected and Free Oracle, which is normally an indie deck. So this is in English. You can get it independently published, but a French publisher picked it up, mass market, and released it in French, but you can get it on Amazon.fr and things like that. It retails for 32 euros and you have 55 cards, and it comes in this gigantic box, which I've said before, they're beautiful, but they are like a little bit too much for me to store. But look at this, it's gorgeous. You get this really beautiful color handbook, all in French obviously, but it's gorgeous. And actually the messages are not that long, so to translate it you could use Google Translate, etc. They're very short. But for every card you get a message, and you get crystal association as well. We love that. You've got spreads in here, and then inside the box you have another box. So here, and this is where the cards come in. Here are the backs, which are exactly the same as the indie version. It's a very well loved Oracle deck, and I know a lot of people have it, and I know a lot of people want it. So if you have been lusting after this particular deck and you can't afford the indie version that is not cheap, I highly recommend the French mass market, and the keywords have just been translated. You could even write yourself the keywords in English if you wanted to from watching a walkthrough of the English version, or you could read this intuitively because a lot of the images are actually very intuitive. Some of them I find personally don't go as much between the image and the keyword, but then that's because some people pointed out that actually the English keyword matched more the image than the French keyword, and so I think here it's maybe more like a lost in translation kind of issue, where in English the keyword and the text really go together, but in French you lose a little bit of edge, you lose a little bit of that meaning, and so maybe it doesn't quite match. However, a lot of the cards, text and image match, so that even if you don't really know what's going on in the text, the image is clear. Here is the end card. You've got a closed door. It's a dead end. that's very obvious. This card, this deck comes with the 7 chakra cards. So I've actually included mine in the deck, but you can use them separately if you want. So if you want to do some chakra work, you could use those. And overall, it's a very beautiful deck. It looks very colorful, very modern, and I enjoyed using this in the month of April because my friend who came visit, she doesn't really know anything about Tarot and Oracle, apart from like what I've told her. It is not her world at all. She's very logical, very down to earth, and so in that sense we're very opposite, but obviously she's very curious and she wanted to learn and wanted to find out a little bit more. So because this actually found in the bookshop pretty much just before she arrived, I was wanting to get acquainted with the deck. I was wanting to use it in readings, and she wanted to discover a little bit what Oracle was before we moved on to Tarot. I introduced her to Oracle readings with this deck, and I found that it was perfect because it's not too, how can I say that, woo, I guess. Not that personally I have anything against woo-woo, like hello, you've watched my channel, I love all the spiritual stuff, I'm here for it. But when you're, choose your audience. My friend, it's not her thing at all. The woo-woo stuff, it goes over her head, right? This deck was perfect to kind of get her to have a little peek into self-empowerment, spiritual journey, etc. without telling her to call in Archangel Michael, check out her Akashic records. Right? This deck is a bit more down to earth, I find. The majority of the deck is kind of very tailored around self-development, self-empowerment, so you can do readings around that sense. You can also do kind of like predictive readings because you have cards that are like the end card or transition or new beginnings and things like that. So it's there's like plenty of cards. It's very well varied. I found that it really is great as like a for everyone kind of reader. The fact that even my friend enjoyed using this deck as her first kind of introduction to Oracle deck, pulling a card, reading the guidebook, and we talked about it, like what do you think the image represents, how do you feel about it, etc. She didn't feel freaked out by it, she didn't feel triggered by it. Like for all of my people who read for others, professionally or not, this is a really great one, I think, that you could use for everyone, for anything. It's not triggering, you can use it for lots of different themes, you can pair it with lots of different tarot decks. Because of the aesthetic of it, I feel like it would suit most modern decks, like the Light Seers, the Neo Tarot. Like, there's so many decks that you could pair with this. The Sasubari B2 I'm sure would look really good with this. There's like plenty of tarot decks that would go well with this, but also on its own, it's a solid oracle deck. Like, it read well. I've done some spreads with it for myself, I've used it for my friends, I've used it for like kind of to pair it with tarot and oracle decks, and it's solid. You don't need the guidebook, although the guidebook is a nice addition. Now that I've worked with it, I've kind of like made my connection with it. I don't really reference the guidebook that much, but it was good to get a first, you know, kind of get acquainted with the deck with, and I really enjoyed it. So the Connected and Free Oracle, I can report back that it's been a favorite for the month of April. Another oracle deck I really enjoyed in the month of April. Again, it's just like a constant favorite for me. It's never too far out, but I just wanted to give it a quick shout out. It's the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette and Reid. This was my first oracle deck ever, and it's still solid. So it's an animal oracle deck, it's mass market. I don't really enjoy all of Colette's newer decks. One of my friends got the Goddess one, so she lent it to me so I could try it, and I really didn't like it. And then the crystal one she also got. I've not tried the latest one that she brought out, the 7 energies, so I guess I'll have to like see walkthroughs and stuff, but so far it's not really calling to me. But this one and the Wisdom of the Oracle one, which are two of her earlier kind of decks that she brought out, I love them. And this being my first deck ever, my first oracle deck at least, I have a very strong connection to it. The artwork by Jenna della Grottaglia is beautiful. On every card you have an animal, and you have the name of the animal, and you have a keyword. This has been translated, I'm pretty sure, in French for all of my French viewers. You get a ton of cards, you get a ton of animals. I like that it's a mix of animals from the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, because that's something you don't always see. And obviously I have very particular animals that I can encounter in my day-to-day. Like for me, cards that are very important to me are the chameleon, the whale, the dolphin, the geckos. I'm more likely to see those animals than a deer or a rabbit. That's just because of the ecosystem where I live. So here there's plenty of different kind of animals, so you feel like it's definitely enough so that everyone can kind of relate to it. I've edged my copy in this kind of very cool mint. I'm obsessed with this color for the edges, and the cardstock is matte. It's really nice. You can read this deck upwards or reversed, because the guidebooks give you upward and reverse meaning. And it was really nice to kind of use this deck because it's my OG and still delivers. Okay, let's move on to tarot decks, the last category, my favorite category obviously. The deck I use the most for myself and that I can't put down, and even though now we're in May, I still can't put it down. And it is the White Fly Tarot. So here are the backs. This is an indie deck that I got on a website called MERCI, which if you watch my videos, you've heard me talk about them before. They are based in France and they sell only indie tarot and oracle decks. And I made 2 orders from them. I'm not sponsored, by the way, they don't even know I exist. I'm just sharing that for all of you based in EU. I know that indie decks can be complicated to get, especially since Brexit. Some indie decks we were able to get from the UK, now it's complicated. And even though I live in the southern hemisphere, literally next to Madagascar, so far away from Europe, Reunion Island is still part of Europe. So it is easier for me to order things from Europe, even though they're gonna take longer. I will not be charged in terms of customs and stuff, whereas if I was to order from America or the UK, etc. I got this on MERCI. I'll put the link to their website below. They sell a lot of Indian tarot and oracle decks, and I've done 2 orders from them, and both time it was fairly quick in my world. Like, I think it took like 3 weeks, which for me is express shipping, so I can really recommend buying from them, and they have a really nice selection. And I'll also put the website directly of the artist, so that if you are not in the EU, I'm sure you can buy this directly from the artist, who I believe is Italian. This is a tarot deck that is very fantasy based, and it's very unique in the sense that the images were created kind of like prior the tarot deck was made. So this particular artist is like a digital artist, and he had a lot of like art that he had, and then he decided to make a tarot deck, and I think some of the art is art that he created for the deck, and some of it is art that he already had that he kind of tweaked to adapt to a tarot. Normally I'm not a fan of those kind of like decks that are a bit hybrid in that sense. I prefer normally decks that have been created in the mind of, I want to create a tarot deck, so I'm going to create new art that corresponds to the archetypes of a tarot. But with this one, it works because he actually went back and changed things and adapted, and you can tell he understands tarot, which is a relief, which is not always the case with artists. Some artists just want to do a tarot deck because they like the idea of tarot, but you can tell they don't read tarot, and you as a tarot reader, you try and pick up the deck and you're like, yes, it's beautiful, but I can't read with it. It's not the case at all with this deck. This is full on, you are like fantasy art style. It's very specific kind of art style, but I really love it. If you know me, you know I love fantasy. I love kind of things that are set in another world. And I really resonate with this kind of art style. I don't know why. It's like, it takes me to somewhere else. It reads beautifully. It delivers powerful messages. It looks great in the spreads. It pairs well with tarot and oracle deck, and some of the cards really hit me in the feels. So for example, one of the things that I've been working on, one of the cards that I've been recurringly having in the month of April is this Six of Wands, which I love, but as you can see, can you see that? It is not your stereotypical happy kind of Six of Wands. It literally is this kind of like warrior, fighter, who is taming this dragon in order to get victory. And this was my stalker card of the month of April, and it really made me realize that sometimes I can't enjoy things if I don't struggle to get them, especially in terms of my healing journey physically, etc. I can't just enjoy things, or at least I'm working on it now, but it's made me realize that even when I go for a walk, for example, I was going for a walk with my friend, in the back of my head it was like, okay, you're going on a walk with your friend, it's gonna be nice, but also it's gonna be part of your exercises so you can get stronger, so you work on your body, so you can do the exercises that your physio said you had to work on, so that you can kind of like get stronger and heal and, you know, regain your mobility, etc., etc. There's part of me that's always like, you need to struggle to get there. You need to like, you can't enjoy it fully if you haven't like, if you don't make it into some kind of like an exercise or something to work towards. And let me tell you, I was read to filth by this particular card and this particular deck repeatedly, but it has also given me a lot of like great insight to continue working on that side of myself and working on that part of my healing journey, which I'm sure if you have been going through illness, or if you go through chronic pain or chronic illness or anything, I'm sure you are very familiar with this particular mindset of when you can do something, you have to do it, you have to make the most of it, because you don't know the next time you're going to be well enough, so you have all those things you want to check out on your to-do list, and it kind of takes over the enjoyment of being able to do things, because instead of enjoying doing things, it becomes this kind of almost chore of, I have to make the most of it, because I don't know the next time I'm going to be well enough to do it. And it kind of ruins it. It really ruins it. And so if you can relate, let me know in the comments. But this deck called me out on that, so that was really like one of the things that was really helpful to be aware of, among some other things that are more personal that I don't really feel comfortable sharing with the internet. But overall, this deck is just a great, for me it was a great reader, because that mix of the art style, the fact that it's kind of doing its own thing, it is RWS inspired, but you can see it's kind of very much doing its own thing. It really helped my intuition to expand, to pick up on elements and characters, etc., to give me a new insight. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of in the deck are the court cards. They are very young looking, the court cards, which is not necessarily a problem. If like one of the suit looks very young, I don't mind. But a lot of the court cards look very young. All the queens are very young. The kings are a little bit less young, but all the queens look very young. I like to have kind of older queens if I get at least one. So that's the one thing I felt like it reads really well. The cardstock, I didn't mention it, but it's unlike anything I have. It feels like plastic, but it's not really plastic, but it has kind of a grip to it. And can you hear that? It feels like I don't know, yeah, kind of plasticky. It's really nice to shuffle. And I dropped my cards in the river in the month of April. I was taking my tarot deck out and about like I do all the time, and I was taking a picture of my card pool with this deck, and I dropped my cards in the river. Like, can you imagine the scream? I think you probably heard me from London and New York and all of the rest of the world. I screamed because I was like loving this deck so much, and it was just like, no, you know, because I thought it was gonna be ruined. And guess what? I put it on the side, I left it to dry, not in the sun, because here it's so sunny that it would probably burn the card, but you know, left it to dry for days, not touching it, nothing, and it's literally, you can't see anything. It's back to normal. It's not even wrapped, nothing, and it's like a blessing. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it's possible, but I truly believe it's because of that kind of like feel of it. I wouldn't run pouring water on it. I wouldn't use this in the bath. Let me just tell you that. Don't do that. But if you accidentally drop your cards in the river, although I don't know who else does those kind of stupid shit apart from me, it saves it. So quick mention, because this is a deck that we all know and love, but I kind of brought back my Light Seers Tarot for the month of April purely to read for my friend. Like I said, she wasn't, at least, now she is, but she wasn't versed in tarot. She didn't know what it was, she didn't understand how it worked, it wasn't her world, but she was curious, she wanted a reading, etc. So after I introduced her to kind of Oracle with the Connected and Free, and she wanted some readings, I was like, okay, what deck can I use for someone who is slightly apprehensive and slightly worried about getting a tarot reading, yet really wants one? What deck is a good introduction to the world of tarot that's not going to be triggering, that's not going to be overwhelming, that's not going to be scary? And I thought the Light Seers, because the Light Seers is always my workhorse deck, and it delivered. We all know this deck. I've got the mass market version, I've edged mine in black. I'm not even going to show you, right? Like, everyone knows and loves this deck. But this is just a reminder to myself and to anyone who needs it, that if you're trying to read for others and you don't know what deck to use, the Light Seers, I can tell you from experience now, having read with many people who are apprehensive to tarot was that even grammatically correct? I don't even know what I just said, that this is a solid deck and that people enjoy this deck, that they actually really love it, that they feel seen in it, that they see their experience represented, and it's a solid deck. Like, honestly, again, it delivered for my friend. It was absolutely on point. And for someone who at first was very apprehensive of tarot, of how it worked, of scary cards, you know, all the things that people who've never really experienced tarot come like being worried of, that we've all been there, right? Before we actually understood how it was, we were shitting ourselves thinking about getting the Devil and the Tower. It's normal, it's human. This deck was perfect as like a reader for that, and I really enjoy bringing it out. And so shout out to the Light Seers, because this is, I feel, like a modern day classic that I can't see myself without now. It really has this very particular use in my tarot collection. I rarely read for myself with it because I have so many other decks that I enjoyed for me. But for reading for others, it really delivers. Is it perfect? No, we always want more representation, you know, of course. Last deck I want to mention, this is like my study project right now with I think it's going to continue in the month of May, obviously, but I have to thank one of you in the comments, Nova, if you're watching, thank you so much. This is thanks to you that I could do this study project, because one of my, like, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful tarot decks I own is The Journey into Egypt by Julie Kuchia Watts. This is an indie deck. It's a very expensive deck. It's in print. It's still in print, but it's expensive. And I've had it for 2 years, and I love it. I love reading with it, but it is different from your stereotypical tarot deck, because not only is it based in Egyptian mythology, which is, you know, something I loved when I was a child and that I still enjoy, it is also based in Egyptian astrology, and that I don't know shit about. So this, you can actually get a separate guidebook that comes with it, which I ordered from one of those websites that you can print on, you know, like Lulu or whatever you call it. And I never received it. I bought the book and I never received it. And that was like, I don't know, I think end of 2019, early 2020. So at this rate, it's probably lost, unless it comes at one point, it reappears. If I ever get it, you can be sure I'm gonna share it with you, because that would be crazy. Although I did not that long ago receive a parcel from 2020, like end of 2020, so it's possible. I'm telling you, the postage, the transport, everything, it's fucked up. So I'm hopeful it might turn up at one point. Anyway, I never got the book. So I was enjoying reading with this, but I knew there was a huge part of it that was going over my head. And I wanted to study it so bad because I find it beautiful. It's so gorgeous. It's one of my most beautiful decks, honestly. Potentially the most beautiful deck I ever bought, but at the same time, potentially the most beautiful one to look at and to work with. And then I was talking about this in one of my videos, and one of you, Nova, so thank you so much again if you are watching, let me know that there was an app for this that you can get for like £3, I think I got it. Mind blown, because suddenly on my phone I can get the whole book, I can check the meaning for every card, and the book is there, the book is in the app form. Is it the most practical? No. Would I prefer to have the real book? Yes. Am I ready to pay for the book another time? No. I've already spent, like, I don't know how much the book is, plus shipping to Reunion Island, which cost a bomb. Never got it. I'm not gonna pay for the book again. Unless, maybe, you know, when I move back to Europe and it's easier to get things there, maybe I could potentially see myself picking up the book in book format form. But for now, the app is good enough. It's perfect. It has all the information of the book, I believe. Or at least it's definitely enough to get my teeth into. And so what I've been doing for the month of April, and I'm going to continue in the month of May, because of course my friend being here, I didn't have that much time to study, etc., is I am pulling my card a day, and then I go on the app, I read what it says, kind of soaking in the knowledge, soaking in the vibes, soaking in kind of like the histories and the stories and the myths behind the card. And I think once I've kind of done that and I've kind of gotten most of the card, then I'll go back and I'll do myself kind of a full-on little guidebook or something where I write down everything. But for now, it's just been a wonderful experience to work with the deck and the app. It's made me appreciate the deck even more. I'm seeing a lot more stories that, like I suspected, was going over my head. And also the whole astrology thing is not really my forte. Like I understand a little bit about astrology, like the signs and the houses, and that's it. When it comes to aspects, when we start to talk about conjunctions and squares, I'm certainly like, oh, I don't know, you're speaking another language that I don't understand right now. And then the fact that this is actually based in another system, not like your astrology, I don't even know what you call that, like astrology that is based on, I don't know what, the mainstream astrology that we see in all of everywhere. This is not that. This is Egyptian astrology. So the signs are actually not the same, because Julie base herself on what she calls real sky astrology, where actually it can I'm not really sure how you would explain that, but apparently the way the planets have moved, all of our signs would be like one side behind. So for example, I think I'm an Aries because I've always been told I'm an Aries, but if I follow this particular system, I would be Pisces. I would be like one behind, I think. Again, I'm telling you, astrology is not my thing. Tarot is my thing. So that would make me a Pisces, which I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, does that make sense? Kind of, because when I was reading all of the comments in my tarot decks for each zodiac sign, if you haven't seen that, I'll put a card somewhere, and oracle decks for the zodiac sign, again, if you haven't seen that, I'll put a card there. I was saying Pisces I don't really have in my life, and I don't really know if I understand them, and then all of you were saying in the comments, this is what Pisces energy is like, we do this, we do that, and I was like, yeah, I kind of do all of that too. So maybe, but at the same time I'm just like, I love Aries so much and I identify with it so much that you can't take that away from me. So do I understand real sky astrology? I don't think I do. Is that a problem in me using the deck? Absolutely not. You can use the deck, enjoy the deck, and use the app, enjoy the guidebook, etc. without paying attention to the astrology, because the myths, the mythology, the stories, the symbolism, and Julie's knowledge is just like fantastic. So the astrology is just like one side of it, but that little kind of like moment of me telling myself, imagine I was another sign. That was like interesting to think about. These are my favorites for the month of April. I was like, this is gonna be a short video, and now I've been talking for like an hour, so thank you so much if you've made it this far with me. I hope you've had a nice month of April, and I hope you have a even better month of May ahead. If not, then know I'm sending you many hugs, and until my next video, as per usual, I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!